with this month's theme of forgiving everything, I wanted to look up the word forgive just for a reference. To cease to feel resentment against an offender or an offense. To cease to feel. Let's just start there. So to forgive is to cut off a certain type of feeling. To stop feeling a certain way about a certain thing. Now, why do we feel a certain way about a certain thing? Well, we feel a certain way about a certain thing because we believe something. There is a belief, a rogue belief running around in there that causes us to think the way we think, therefore feel the way we feel. So if forgiveness is to stop a feeling, then forgiveness really means I got to go figure out, why do I believe what I believe that puts me in this position of being in an unforgiven state? So that's where I went. The title of my talk today is, It Starts With Me. So Jamie's lyrics, there's a line in his lyrics that talks about the shame of my life and the guilt that I can't let go of. You know, the thing about shame and about guilt is that it stops me, and you say that, it stops me from being who I really am. When I have shame and when I'm ashamed of something, I talked about it last week, my mind is now divided. There's a part of me that's trying to reach out and be who I am, but there's a part of me in that shame cycle that is holding back. And so I am literally fighting against myself when I don't forgive, when I've got something in there that I'm not allowing to just move on. Same thing goes with the guilt. When I feel guilty about anything, why am I feeling guilty? I'm feeling guilty because I must believe something about myself that I can't release. And so I feel guilty, not only about the thing that I can't release, I feel guilty that I can't release it. I start thinking that whatever that is has such a hold on me that I'm weak. I can't let go of it. I can't forgive it. I just can't. So now I've got another thing in my mind where I'm fighting against myself. I'm thinking I'm weak. I'm thinking I can't do something. And I'm thinking something has power over me. So that's everything that's going on in this idea of forgiving. And today I really do want to talk about forgiving ourselves. You know, what you don't forgive becomes this substance in your life that creates the discord that you're living with. You may not even know. I used to love Louise Hay back in the 80s and 90s. I used to love to read her books. And she always, I didn't quite subscribe to her idea that the gallbladder meant this and the kidney meant this. I never really went that clear with her. But I loved the idea that something you are doing with your mind can affect your body. And you don't even know why. It just is. So you think you're sick. You think you have some disease that you caught. No, you have some disease that you have allowed. It's not about catching. It's about allowing. So this whole idea of forgiveness is an allowance. Allowing something to be what it is. Even the guilt, even the shame. So we have so much more in our lives. So much more in our lives to do. There is so many more songs to sing, so many songs to write. There is so many more loves to have, so much more adventure to have, passion to have in life. Why do we waste our time with the unforgiven? Why do we waste our time with all of this stuff that we're trying to work on in ourselves, as opposed to forgive it, let it go, and move on to living life to the fullest? So Coco Chanel, the famous fashion designer, French fashion designer, she says this: "You live but once, you might as well be amusing." Are you amusing? You might be amusing yourself, but are you amusing everyone around you? So I love that. You live but once, so you might as well be amusing. And to me that means you live but once, you might as well have fun at it. You might as well enjoy it. So forgiveness is your stopping yourself from enjoying life, your unforgiveness. Forgiveness means you're now got a free rein. Oh, I've let that go. I've let that go. So I have another quote from Coco Chanel too, but I'm not going to use it anyway. So amusing means causing laughter and providing entertainment. Causing laughter and providing entertainment. When's the last time you provided entertainment, Margaret, besides that right then, just now, a minute ago? When's the last time you provided laughter into the world? Actually, frankly, when's the last time you actually laughed? Like gut laughed, just laughed out loud, like, oh my God, just, it's funny. And so I'm having the best time. When's the last time you allowed your authentic self to just be without judging it, without considering, how do I look? How will this look? Will this benefit me? Is this going to help me in my pursuits? Or you just allowed yourself to be who you are? I think that's what she's saying here. One of the vision statements at our center is enlightenment through entertainment. And I've been criticized at times for being a little bit too much of an entertainer and a little less of a minister. I know, right? So I always laugh. When they say that, I'm like, well, then go somewhere else. And I wrote this down. I said, you know what? Here's what I think. Make me listen and I'm bored. Make me laugh and I'll listen. Just think about that.
Did you write that?
I did.
I like
I know, right? I did write that. Make me listen, force me to listen to you and I'm bored. Make me laugh and I'm like, I'll listen to you now. Because I believe the way into anything is through laughter, is through enjoyment, is through entertainment. So enlightenment through entertainment, being one of my vision statements, means that I can find enlightenment anywhere. I've said this many times. I can go to a bowling alley and find the whole meaning of science of mind in the way the ball is thrown and how it hits the pins. That's our job, to find the excitement of life and then go out and live it. So here's a question. Who are you being in your life? Who are you being in your life? Coco Chanel said, my life didn't please me, so I created it. So who are you being in your life? And I really want you to think about this for a minute. Let's all take a second here. Who do you show up as? I know it's about your already established premises in life, but who do you show up as in life? Who are you? Do you show up as the overworker, the overachiever? Do you show up as the jokester? I know we can go through all these archetypes, but I mean, who do you authentically show up as in your life? Is it perhaps true that none of them are who you are? They're just manufactured images in your head of who you're supposed to be or who your history tells you you are. Because frankly, I am not my history. I can forgive all of that and just be in this clean slate of who do I want to be? What do I want to create? We are all a certain age, whether you are 20 or 90. You get to create what comes next. I mean, I love the Jane Fonda thing of the third act of my life, and I clearly am in it if that's how it goes. But can I create it any way I want? Am I relegated to everything that's come before me to put me right here? Well, you know what? Unforgiveness does stick me right here. If there's anything back there that I am not forgiving, especially me, for something back there, I am stopped in my tracks. It's very difficult to move forward when I've put an anchor back here on something. So the question I have for you today is, one of them is, who are you? And who do you want to be? Alice Walker, American novelist, she wrote The Color Purple. She said this. She says, whenever you are creating beauty around you, you are restoring your own soul. Whenever you are creating beauty around you, you are restoring your own soul. My son called me yesterday because he went away for the weekend. He drove up 4 hours into Texas, into some remote place. He actually texted me. To this remote place, and I said, why? He said, because I really do need to go and see something different. And so a bunch of his home friends, the ones that are all secluded together, they went to this place, and he sent me a text yesterday about what he was seeing. And I had already worked on this talk, and I'd had that quote from Alice Walker, whenever you are creating beauty around you, you are restoring your own soul. So I sent him the quote, and I said, Will, here's what you're doing. You're restoring beauty around you. And you're creating beauty and restoring your soul. And he wrote me back this beautiful little, oh my God, Dad, that's exactly what I'm doing. So my question to you is, you've got this beautiful thing going on called the pandemic. the time, and you heard what I said? This beautiful thing going on called the pandemic that's giving you an opportunity to slow the hell down, to slow the hell down, and maybe pick up the heaven, and maybe create some beauty, so much so that you can regenerate your soul. I know that Floyd Lula has written, 125 new songs or something? 25 new songs. Margaret is in college, going back to college, getting her degree. She has written so much amazing. She sits down and plays me a song, and I'm like, the new Sondheim needs to get to Broadway quick, right? What are you doing with this time? Are you still just focused on what's not working, or are you willing to focus on the time you have in front of you? So, what does it mean to create beauty? Well, when I was 16, my mother had cancer, and it was her first bout with cancer, and she went into the hospital. And because when I was thinking about this, I thought, well, when have I created beauty in my life? And this popped into my head so quickly. She had gone into the hospital. It was the first time, and it was scary. But I was standing in the kitchen, and I was looking out the back window at this garden, my mom's garden, that was a disaster. And she used to go out there and do things, but it was just a disaster. So I decided I was going to redo her garden. And I dug everything out, put in rose bushes, little white picket, this should have been their first clue, put in little picket fences all around and flowers. And it was so good. I even put a trellis in it was spectacular. And I created this beauty. And when she came home, I made her walk right into the kitchen. I said, you got to walk into the kitchen. She was not feeling well. She walked right into the kitchen and she was like, ah, and she started to cry. It was creating beauty and allowing this soul to be regenerated. Not surprising that a few years later, when my mother died, that was the image I had. Because when she left our house, she went out the back staircase and into the car right in front of the garden. And I remember, and it was raining that night, and I remember thinking how sad I was, because I didn't think she'd come home, and she didn't. But I remember thinking the beauty and the landscape of it all, and the little bit of rain, and she looked up at the window, just didn't wave or anything, but I did connect for that 1 second with her. That's a beautiful image for me. There's sadness in it, because you lose someone, but there's a beautiful image there. And I realized that the thing I created there years before, because she passed like 4 years later, the thing I created still worked. And the irony, fun part for me is when I went home with the kids to show them where I grew up, we drove down the back alley, it's an alley, to the garden. And I was showing Will and Nora, I said, this is the garden. And it was just it was just a disaster. But my little white things were still there. I thought, it's 40 years later, folks. You didn't put anything new here. And we just sat there looking. I was like, see that? So there are things that you have created in your life that still bring up that beautiful energy. My question to you today is, what are you willing to start building anew? Where are you willing to start putting more into the world? So, forgiveness, releasing the past to its highest meaning. So what do you have inside of you? What have you still not forgiven, Reverend Mark, that you brought up here? What is still in there that you can see in a higher way, in a more spiritual way, in a way that will serve you as opposed to destroy you or hold you back? C.S. Lewis said this: you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. So you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start right now and change the ending. And that's something to ask yourself too. What do you want to say to yourself in that last day? What do you want to have not accomplished? Because I'm less about doing, more about being. Because from the being comes the doing. Doobie-doobie-doo. So, what do you want to look back and say, yeah, I did it. I did everything I wanted to do. Well, forgiveness is a big part of this. And the reason I say that is because I have noticed in my life that when I am holding on to something, I can't go forward too well. If I'm holding on to some grievance or some anger or I'm holding on to something, especially about myself, I can push it back. I can push it back into the recesses of my mind and forget about it for a while, but it doesn't really leave me. And there's like a little bit of weight walking along with me as I travel. And I don't know what it is because I've pushed it back, pushed it away. Well, maybe today, the rest of this month, is the time for us to stop pushing it back. Pull it up. Look at it. Be willing to look at it. Be willing to understand it from a different perspective. Forgiveness, frankly, forgiveness is about your future. That's what it's really about. Forgiveness isn't about the past. It's not about what happened. Forgiveness is about your willingness to step into your future by letting go of your past and letting go of whatever needs to be let go of. There's a beautiful Rumi quote, and it's this. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. So what about yourself are you willing to change? And I'm not saying change it because there's something wrong with it. I'm saying change it because you recognize that there's something in you that is not serving you. That's what that affirmation's all about. I am willing to forgive and let go of anything that no longer serves me, even if it served you before. You know, this Tuesday in my practitioner class, it was the addiction class. You know, in the practitioner session, there's the sex class, which was a couple weeks ago, and the addiction class, and there's all these different classes where you deal with these issues. And it was very fascinating hearing these 13 people talk about what addiction means to them, how it shows up, why it shows up. Why are people addicted to? So they have to read Ernest Holmes' book on alcoholism. Now, it's an old book from 1941, and it can seem antiquated, but what he says in there is that even addiction is a creative impulse used in the wrong way, or in a way that doesn't benefit us. Even addiction. Because when something comes up, an idea or a thought or a feeling comes up, if we turn to something instead, we've just cut off that impulse. But the impulse comes first. The absolute truth comes first, then we deviate from it. So the question is, what are you willing to bring up and not turn away from? What are you willing to really pull up and ask yourself, is this good for me? Is this working for me? And I mean across the board, soup to nuts, alpha to the omega, to really say to yourself, does this work in my life? Rumi has another quote. He says, the soul has been given its own ears to hear things the mind does not understand. Let me say that again. The soul has been given its own ears to hear things the mind does not understand. I took a hike yesterday with a friend who shared with me an issue in this person's life. And when she finished telling me what it was, I just said something. I said, you know, what if you just did this instead of this? And she just stopped and she looked at me, she went, well, yeah, but how do you do that? Like, I'm just going to now, oh, good, it's all done. I'm great now. Everything's perfect. And I looked at her, I went, yeah, it is. I said, if you just, instead of this, did this, it'd be all over. And she stopped for a minute and she went, oh, that is true. And then she asked me a question that I think everybody asks. Can we really turn our lives around in an instant, the minute something shows up that gives us clarity? Can we? Can we absolutely turn it around? Can we drop our addictions? Can we drop the things that we use in our lives that don't help us? Can we let go of our past? Can we forgive those that we think have done things against us? Can we start fresh, brand new, in an instant, right here in this second? Do I need to process everything until I am like a puddle on the floor? Or can I, in this instant, with clarity, know the truth and move forward? And that was a discussion we had at Fryman Canyon yesterday, just asking that question. And I was so clear in my answer that she actually said, you know, I think you probably are right. She goes, I don't know if I can do it, but I think you're probably right. And there's the rub. You can do it. I can do it. I can forgive what no longer serves me. Forgive. To push it away and step into the giving part of this. The soul has been given its own ears to hear things the mind does not understand. In my Thursday night class, the Advanced Consciousness Studies, we are asking very important questions, questions that we don't normally ask. I've never heard asked in Science of Mind the way we're asking them. And one of them is this idea of intuition. There is an intuitive knower inside of you. There is that thing behind you that knows. And there's a wisdom that knows, bless you. And there is something coming through you at all times. And do you know what gets in the way? Your mind. Your mind gets in the way. There are instincts, there are songs that come up fully written. There are screenplays that come up fully written. There are relationships that pop up right in front of you, fully orbed, because it's exactly what you called forth. Intuition knows that, and you know that. In an instant, you can know that if you let your mind, give your mind a break. Put forgiveness at the center of your mind, let it go, and give yourself the opportunity to really listen. Listen to what's going on. We talked this week in class about archetypes. An archetype is just something new in your life, something that comes up. Well, the universe is filled with archetypes, and there are many of them for you to choose from. So when I said earlier, can you just start now and create a whole new life for yourself? Sure. The universe is constantly pouring these archetypes, these new beginnings into your psyche. Your job, though, is to get rid of all the things, get rid of your yeah buts. Well, yeah, that's a great idea, but, well, yeah, I could do that, but, well, I would love to do that, but, can I really do that right now? Not this second. I need time. But. It's about getting your butt out of the way. My last thought today is this. Henry David Thoreau said this: when it comes time to die, let us not discover that we have never lived. When it comes time to die, let us not discover that we have never lived. Forgiveness clears the way for you and for me to be our greatest selves. And self-forgiveness, when it starts with me, when I look at myself in the mirror and I see what there is to forgive, I think it's time for all of us not to walk away from that, not to distract ourselves with the many distractions of life that can pull us away from the very thing we are looking at. I think it's time for us to really understand this idea of forgiveness as an open door. When you are still in the unforgiven, you are behind the door. And you are back here living, dwelling in all the things you don't want to let go. But when you're ready, and I'm going to say you're ready today, I'm ready today. When you're ready, just like that beautiful garden that I created at 16 that is still in my mind, I can open that gate and I can walk through clearly. And I can create a third act to my life and a fourth and a fifth if I want to go there. I can start again, as it says. I can create the beauty around me and therefore enrich my soul. I can go all the way back to who I came here as, push everything else away, and start from there. And create an archetype of the adventurer, someone that just wants to see things in a new, fresh, exciting, passionate way. That's what forgiveness can do. But it does start with me. Because as Jamie said, it is absolutely truth that nothing out there needs my forgiveness. It's all in here, because this is where I store it. This is where I store it. This is where it's landing. I just have to let it go. There is a divine intuition inside of you that is ready to take you into this next amazing journey. Your job is just to let go, forgive, and move on. Namaste.